Oops. Good morning. I'm well. How are you? Morning. Let's make our coffee. Morning. Good morning, everybody. I need to see the shape of the mug. Which mug? This mug? My mug? It's like a little cupcake. It was what do you call it? A party favor from my brother's wedding. Oh, for secret husband. Oh, so all of his mugs are like this, and he's like sad about that, I guess. And he wants ones that are morning. He wants ones the one that I gave him the other day was like this, and he likes it. You can hold it like that. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm gonna look for him. Something that's a little more bulbous that you can like, like that warm, cozy feeling. Yeah, if you find one, let me know, Amanda, and I'll definitely grab it as like a birthday or Valentine gift for him. That would be a smart idea. I am about to down a cheese stick because I am quite hungry. Quite hungry. A little early for me to be hungry, but, such is life in Moscow. That is what's happening. I'm going to eat this cheese stick because I need it in my belly to hopefully stave off nausea. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to work because yesterday was a very nauseous day. She does need sustenance, it's true. Yesterday was a very nauseous day for us. How's everyone doing? Sorry about chewing while I'm talking to y'all, but I had to eat something. Is everyone feeling good? Will there be roll for slime tonight? No, I don't think we have roll for slime planned for tonight. I don't think so. I don't think that was on the agenda. Pretty sure not. I think our next date is I don't know. I need to look at the calendar. Was there supposed to be one tonight? Did I miss one? I'll have to look. I didn't think there was. I'll look at the agenda when I get off live. Hey, welcome, Julia. Welcome. Didn't you offer it since you'll be home? Yeah, but no one replied, Jen. No one replied to it, so not sure everybody's watching you make slime in the roll for slime. Yeah, I posted it as an option, but nobody responded, so if there's no people signed up, I'm not going to do it, you know what I mean? That would just be a waste. Hey, Christy. Oops, I don't know what I'm doing here. Sorry, you guys. I'm making a mess. I might, the way Scandal is, wait, The way Scandal is, so Scandal was great. I did enjoy Scandal. You could just stare at us. I could just stare at you, or I could try to get more of the stuff I need done, of which there is so much. I have all these bases that I have too much base made, because I made a bunch of base for Roll for Slime that I made too much of. So I was thinking about turning the bases, oh, thank you, Andrea, I was thinking about turning the bases into sampler packs for people. How was the appointment? Oh, it was great. Thank you, Christy. I'm always up in my pocket. Friends hang out. Yeah. No, that's, so I was thinking about doing that, like turning I'm due in about 2.5 weeks. I was thinking about turning those bases into sampler packs. Because sampler packs were the thing that sold out first. So I was like, well, yeah, sampler packs always. So I don't know. We'll see what I do tonight. We shall see. 2.5 weeks, that seems so soon. I guess maybe it's more like 3 full weeks. Do you need us psychos to clear you out of evergreen stuff? There's not really any stuff left, Ray. That's the thing. That's the great thing about the evergreens, is there's not really, I have just enough basically to cover the remaining grab bag people for the rest of the month when their charges go through. Yeah, it's great. But I do have all that base, and I know that so many people who aren't on Patreon missed out on getting sampler packs, and so I was like, maybe I'll just be nice and make them for them. I have the base anyway, and then the base won't be wasted. You know what I mean? Yeah, they'll leave when I start reading, exactly. Yeah, they're not gonna stick around. But I don't know. We'll see what I end up doing with all that base. Yeah, some of the base I am going to turn into nurse slimes. I even bought nurse charms to put in the nurse slimes for, yeah, this isn't slime, I'm leaving. I got nurse charms to put in the slimes that I'm going to take to the hospital in a little basket. And I'm going to make a little sign that says, like, if you're feeling stressed, squeeze one of these, you know. And so maybe they'll be nice to me and I'll have an easier time. I have really bad white coat anxiety. Like, hospitals, nurses, doctors all give me like extreme anxiety. And so I was thinking maybe if I gave them slime, they'll be nicer to me. I'm also going to bring like another basket that has like the snacks and the hair ties and the lip balms and stuff in it. Like, but, or take home to your kids. Yeah, exactly, Becca. Yeah, she has turned. Yeah, she's definitely turned. So I'm just hoping that by like doing something extra like that, they'll be nicer to me about the anxiety that I have, you know? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, everybody says that nurses are really nice, but I've heard some really crazy horror stories about like people giving birth. Do you have a midwife at your hospital team? I do not, but I have a doula with me. Yeah, I mean, that's what everybody says, Becca, but then you hear all these crazy stories of people just like ignoring signs and ignoring requests and things like that. And so I'm just want to take the precautions. Yeah. Yeah, I have a doula and I have a secret husband. She's great. She's a big advocate, which is lovely. And I'm very pleased with her energy and the way that she, like, we're very comfortable and chill together. I think you're right, Abby. I think you're right. Yeah. They will definitely not allow it. No, yeah, they won't. Our doula is super cool. She's very... yeah, secret husband would do it, but I think we've come to the conclusion that we're going to let the doula do a lot of it because she's so knowledgeable. So we kind of came up with a flow of like information. Like, he would do it, but I think we're going to actually rely on her so that he can
have a calm time as well. There was a nurse that told my mom she wasn't far enough, so she should go. I know that, but that's what I'm saying, Andrea. That happens a lot, right? I also hear about nurses that are like, okay, so I got my blood drawn the other day, and the nurse who did it was very nice, but she was very rough, and it still hurts. Like the site of where they drew my blood is still tender even 2 days later. And so like some nurses are just gentler than others, you know? And that's just a fact. She wasn't mean. She was a very nice lady, but when she put it in, I was like, oh, that's gonna leave a mark, and it's still bruised. She just didn't know how to be gentle with it. So, you know, I'm just hoping to, if I do these things, that when I say like, ow, they'll take it a little more seriously. I did not dye my hair. I have not dyed my hair since the moment I found out that I was pregnant, and I will not until she comes out of my body, and then I will immediately do it. Last thing my mom was gonna have is an at-home birth. I mean, really, Andrea, seriously, that's me. Like, I don't, my veins are always tough. But see, the thing is, I don't have tough veins. I had to learn to take a deep breath with the, and I'm doing much better. Yeah, I've tried to do a lot of those things, but I have that like vasovagal response or whatever, so sometimes I have uncontrollable like weird responses to needles. I always try to warn them. I'm like, hey, just so you know, I have this, I can't control it, there's nothing that I can do, literally. They always stick you in your hand. Ugh, I don't want that. I don't want that. Have them do a heat pack. Interesting. Why is it 11:12 prime time for dogs to call? You know, it is the middle of the day in their defense, right? Interesting, Becca. Interesting. I remember Mama said she didn't get an epidural. She said she got the... Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to not have an epidural if I can, due to the complications that I generally have from stuff like that. It's not that I don't, like, my mom had an epidural, my sister had one twice. I support everyone who does it. I just have like really bad responses to medication like that. It does, I think, Becca, but I'm going to try to avoid that as well if I can. That will be like the first line of business if I can't handle it. But I'm just trying to mentally prepare myself for, like, I've just basically been telling myself you should prepare for 17 hours of pain is what I've been telling myself. I don't know where I got the number 17, but like that's the number in my head. I just have mentally been saying you're going to be in pain for 17 hours and you need to just roll with that, and that's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I've been telling myself. Maybe it'll be less, maybe it'll be more, but for some reason my brain keeps saying 17. And so 17 hours of pain. Yeah, we did name her. We're not giving the name out on social media, but we did name her. Yeah, we have the comb. Absolutely, Roxy, 100% with the comb. I'm gonna have slime. I'm gonna have my Kindle. Are you able to walk outside or at a mall? That will help with labor as well. It depends. Like, let's see how the air clears. Like right now I'm not going outside very much because of the fires, you know? So it just depends. If everything clears up and the air is clear, I'd love to start going for more walks outside, but I've just been kind of doing all my exercises inside. I can hardly see my veins. My veins are pretty good, actually. But my doula said she's going to suggest that they do the IV here on my arm, specifically so that I can labor in different positions. Because if it's on your hand, you can't do really any like yoga-like positions. And if it's in your arm, like you can't move either. So she's going to suggest that they do it right here, so that I have the most mobility. So that's something that we've talked about as well. Yeah. I want to have as much mobility as possible. I remember getting an IV in my hand, it hurt. Yeah, I bet. I've never had one in my hand, but I don't relish it. Yours was in your forearm. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, Susan. That's exactly right. Me too, Becca. Me too. Most I've had is 20, and then they made a forearm allowed me to do many positions. Yeah, that's our hope. So we'll just see. You know what I mean? Like, who really knows? With Max, they kept telling me I had to stop moving my elbow. I was like, well, yeah, how? But like, really, how? If you have good veins, good luck. I do generally have good veins, actually, because I'm really well hydrated. So you can kind of see them because I'm pretty hydrated. So I don't know. We'll see. We don't know. I mean, like, my mom has this countdown. Yeah, walk the hospital floor. Definitely that too. My mom has a countdown going for the days that she thinks the baby's gonna come, but I keep having to remind her that babies are unpredictable and she could come before her count and she could come after her count. We don't know. No, actually, my mom has given in to my sister and is like all gung ho for me to go into labor on the 4th and deliver on the 5th. So my sister really wants that because, okay, here's my sister's reasoning, you guys. This is hilarious, right? So my sister wants 2/5/25, right? And then agreed, Andrea. I agree with your mom. And the reason is my sister's birthday is 5/25, May 25th, and so she wants to have her niece be born on a matching date because it's her goddaughter. And so she wants her to be born on 2/5/25, but she specifically wants her to be born at 5:25 p.m. I was like, girl, you are being very, very, very specific. Deborah will be there. I mean, she'll be more fun when we're out of the hospital and you can come visit then, right? I mean, like, that's way more fun. Or 2:52, that works as well. Yeah, it's the backwards of it. Yeah. My sister has made very specific requests. I personally would be fine with any time in the first week of February, but I was 39 weeks, both came out the day of my, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Due in February, Sarah. I'm not going to just save it for when it's more fun. Dang, your sister's plan. I know, it's funny, Haley, but like, she's her godmother. I don't know if I told you guys this. So Zoe, my niece, who is my sister's first child, was born in the year of the rat, which is when I was born as well. And my daughter and my sister will both be the year of the snake. So we swapped. She's my sister is like over the moon with that. She was like, oh, I gave you a match and now you get to give me one back. So, oh, you came 2 weeks early. Yeah, that's not bad. You know, being due at the end of the month and being born in the middle of the month. I mean, I was born about that early as well. I didn't have any NICU time. I was fine. So if she wants to come a little bit early, like at the end of January, that's okay too. You know, I'm almost done with all my work for the month, and then I'll just be working ahead for March. So if she wants to come a little early, that's okay. You know, we're rocking and rolling. She will be the best aunt. Yes, she will be. I know. Everyone really wants her to still be a February baby. Look, February 1st through 5th, any time in that gap would be great for me. You know, as long as she doesn't come too soon, she could still be a dragon. That's true. She could still be a dragon. That would be cool though. Like, how cool to be a dragon though, right? I mean, like, there's some, like, when's the cutoff? Do you guys know? I don't know. My sister would know. My sister's really good at stuff like that. I don't know off the top of my head when the dragon cutoff is. It's like Chinese New Year, right? So like the very end of this month, I think she would be mad but also excited because the concept of having a dragon niece is like pretty cool for someone like my sister. My sister's way into dragons. The 10th. Oh, so it already passed? Oh, well. Oh, it's the 28th. Oh, okay. So yeah, we really don't know. My mom had complications with early labor and they had to give her meds to make it stop. Oh, I've heard a lot about that. The 29th is the cutoff date. Okay. So, I mean, it's technically possible. She'd be perfectly healthy if she came the 28th. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know, you guys. I really don't know. But let's read, because that's what we're here for. 3 months early is too much. We're not at risk for that. Like, at this point, she can come anytime, and it's kind of like, well, whatever, right? Because we're within the month. Your kids have a Chinese New Year off. Oh, that's exciting. Oh, thank you, Jerry. Lunar New Year starts on the 30th. Okay, so yeah, if she comes before that, she's gonna be a dragon. I don't know what Catherine will have to say about that. My sister has been very like she has her godmother cup that I gave her in her godmother box, and she's been like drinking out of it. She's ready. This woman is ready to be a godmother. She's very excited. All right, let's read. Yes, fairy godmother, exactly. I was actually born a month early, but still in the NICU just because of the early labor. That makes sense, Haley. I was like 2.5 weeks early, which was totally fine. So that's why I keep telling her, I'm like, if you want to come 2.5 weeks early, that's what mommy did, and I was healthy. So like, whatever. But that would actually, maybe not, because then I'm not really ready for her to come today. Oh, that's not good, Haley. Yeah, that's totally different. Totally different. All right. English journal. Make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you. Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is her journal entry. I believe that Mr. Emerson was talking about the fact that you're only given one life to live, so you'd better make the best of it. This is best illustrated by a movie I saw on the Lifetime channel when I was sick. The movie was called Who is Julia? And in this movie, Marie Wingham portrays Julia, a woman who wakes up one day after an accident to discover that her body has been completely destroyed and her brain has been transplanted into somebody whose body was okay, but whose brain has ceased to function. Since Julia formerly was a fashion model and now her brain is housed in a housewife's body, Marie Wingham's, she's understandably upset, and she goes around banging her head against things because she's no longer blonde, 5'10" and 110 pounds. But finally, through Julia's husband's undying devotion to her despite her iffy new looks and a brief kidnapping by the housewife's psychotic husband, who wants her to come back home and do his laundry, Julia realizes that looking like a model isn't as important as not being dead. The movie raises the inevitable question, if your body was destroyed in an accident and they had to transplant your brain into somebody else's body, whose body would you want it to be? After considerable thought, I've decided that I would most want to be in the body of Michelle Kwan, the Olympic ice skater, since she's very pretty and has a marketable skill, and everyone knows it's quite stylish to be Asian these days. Either Michelle or Britney Spears, so that I could finally have bigger breasts. Okay, so before we go into the next chapter, I want to laugh about something really quickly because I have not read this book since literally I was a young teenager, and I did not realize that she put that in there. Meg Cabot goes on to write a book about a model who gets a brain transplant, and I wonder if this was like the impetus for that. I don't know, but she did write a book. It's called Being Nikki, and it's very funny. So more where that came from. Wednesday, October 29th, English. Well, one thing is for sure. Having a guy like my cousin Hank follow you around from class to class certainly keeps people's minds off the idiot you made of yourself the other night on TV. Seriously, not that the cheerleaders have forgotten all about the 24/7 thing. I'm still getting the evil eye in the hallway once in a while. But as soon as their gaze flicks over me and settles on Hank, something seems to happen to them. And I couldn't figure out what it was at first. I thought that maybe they were just so stunned to see a guy in flannel shirt and overalls in the middle of Manhattan. But then I slowly started realizing it was something else. I guess Hank is sort of like buff, and he does sort of have nice blonde hair that hangs over his pretty blue eyes, but I think it's something even more than that. I think that Hank is giving off pheromones like the ones we studied in bio or something like that, only I can't sense them because I'm related to him. As soon as girls notice Hank, they sidle up to me and they whisper, "Who's that?" while gazing longingly at Hank's biceps, which are actually quite pronounced underneath all that plaid. Take Lana Weinberger, for instance. There she was, hanging around my locker, waiting for Joss to show up so the two of them could take part in their morning face suckage ritual, when Hank and I appeared, and Lana's eyes, heavily circled in Bobby Brown, widened, and she went, "Who's your friend?" in this voice that I'd never heard her use before, and I've known her for a while. I said, "He's not my friend, he's my cousin." And Lana said to Hank in the same strange voice, "You can be my friend." To which Hank replied with a big smile, "Well, geez, thanks, ma'am." And I don't think that in algebra, Lana wasn't doing everything that she could to get Hank to notice her. She swished her long blonde hair all over my desk. She dropped her pencil like 4 times. She kept crossing, uncrossing, and recrossing her legs. And finally, Mr. Gianni was like, "Miss Weinberger, do you need to use the bathroom?" This calmed her down, but only for like 5 minutes. Even Miss Molina, the school secretary, was strangely giggly when she was making out a guest pass for Hank. But that's nothing compared to Lily's reaction as she climbed into the limo this morning. When we swung by to pick her and Michael up, she looked across the seat, her jaw dropped open, and this piece of Pop-Tart that she'd been chewing fell right out onto the floor. I'd never seen her do anything like that before in my life. Lily is generally very good at keeping things in her mouth. Hormones are a very powerful thing. We're all helpless in their wake. Which would certainly explain the whole Michael thing. I mean, like, about me being so deeply besotted by him at all. T. Hardy buried his heart in Wessex, body in Westminster. Excuse me, but that's gross. Wednesday, October 29th. Gifted and talented. I don't believe this. I really don't believe this. Lily and Hank are missing. That's right. They're missing. Nobody knows where they are. Boris is beside himself. He won't stop playing Mahler. Even Mrs. Hill now agrees that shutting him into the supply closet is the best way to maintain all of our sanity. She let us sneak into the gymnasium and steal some exercise mats and lean them up against the supply closet to muffle the sound. It isn't working, though. I guess you can understand Boris's despair. I mean, when you're a musical genius and the girl that you've been French kissing on a fairly regular basis suddenly disappears with a guy like Hank, it's got to be demoralizing. I should have seen it coming. Lily was excessively flirty at lunch, and she kept asking Hank all these weird questions about life back in Indiana, like if he was the most popular boy in his school and all, which I don't think he said he was, although I personally don't believe anything about him being the most popular boy at Versailles, which is Indiana speak for Versailles, by the way. High school is such a big accomplishment there. She was like, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend?" And Hank got all bashful and said that he used to, only that Amber had ditched him a couple of weeks ago for a guy whose father owns the local Outback Steakhouse. And Lily acted all shocked, and she said that Amber must be suffering from borderline personality disorder if she couldn't see what a fully self-actualized individual that Hank was. I was revolted by this display. I could hardly keep my veggie burger down. And then Lily started talking about all the fabulous things that there are to do in the city and how Hank ought to really take advantage of them rather than just hanging around here at school with me. She said, yeah, for instance, there's a transit museum, which is like totally fascinating. Seriously, she actually said that the transit museum was fascinating? Lily Moskovitz, please. I swear, hormones are way dangerous. And then she went on, and on Halloween, there's a parade in the village, and then we're all going to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Have you ever been to that before? Hank said no, he hadn't. I should have known right then that something was up, but I didn't. The bell rang, and Lily said she wanted to take Hank to the auditorium to show him part of My Fair Lady, the set that she had painted herself for the school play. It was a street lamp that she had painted. Feeling that even a momentary alleviation from Hank's constant stream of reminders that our last visit together was like, remember that time we left our bikes in the front yard and we were all worried somebody might come in the night and steal them? It would be a relief for me to get rid of that. So I just said, okay, take him. And that was the last that any of us had seen of them. I blame myself. Hank is apparently too simple to... I blame myself. Hank is apparently simply too attractive to be released amongst the general population. I ought to have recognized that. I ought to have recognized that the pull of an uneducated but completely gorgeous farm boy from Indiana would be stronger than a pull of a not so attractive musical genius from Russia. And now I have turned my best friend into a two-timer and a class ditcher. Lily has never skipped even one class in her life. If she gets caught, she will get detention. I wonder if she'll think sitting in the cafeteria for an hour after school with the other juvenile delinquents will be worth the fleeting moments of teenage lust that she and Hank are sharing. Michael is no help. He isn't worried about his sister at all. In fact, he seems to find this situation highly amusing. I have pointed out to him that for all we know, Lily and Hank could have been kidnapped by Libyan terrorists, but he says he finds that highly unlikely. He thinks it's more reasonable to assume that they're enjoying the afternoon showing at the Sony IMAX. As if. Hank is totally prone to motion sickness. He told us about it when we drove past the cable car on Roosevelt Island this morning on the way to school. What are Mama and Papa going to say when they find out that I lost their grandson? Top 5 places that Lily and Hank could be. Number 1, the Transit Museum. Number 2, enjoying some corned beef at the 2nd Avenue Deli. Number 3, looking up Dionysus Thermopolis' name on the wall of immigrants at Ellis Island. Number 4, getting tattoos on St. Mark Place. I got this on St. Mark's Place. Number 5, making wild, passionate love back in his room at the Soho Grand. Oh my God. Wednesday, October 29th, World Civ. Still no sign of them. Wednesday, October 29th, Bio. Still nothing. Homework, algebra, solve problems 3, 9, and 12 on page 147. English, profound moment, do it already. World Civ, read chapter 10. Gifted and talented, oh please. French, 4 sentences. Une blague, la montagne, les mers, il est du soleil. Biology, ask Kenny. I am so sure. Who can concentrate on homework when your best friend and your cousin are missing in New York City? Wednesday, October 29th, algebra review. So Lars says he thinks it would be precipitous at this time to call the police. Mr. Gianni agrees with him. He says that Lily is ultimately quite sensible and it is unrealistic to believe that she might let Hank fall into the hands of Libyan terrorists. I, of course, was only using Libyan terrorists as an example of the type of peril that might befall the two of them. There is another scenario which is much more disturbing. Supposing Lily is in love with him. Seriously, no. Supposing Lily, against all reason, has fallen madly in love with my cousin Hank and he has fallen in love with her. Stranger things have happened. I mean, maybe Lily is starting to realize that, yeah, Boris is a genius, but he still dresses funny and is incapable of breathing through his nose. Maybe she's willing to sacrifice all those long intellectual conversations that she and Boris used to have for a boy whose only asset is commonly referred to as a booty. And Hank, maybe he's been dazzled by Lily's superior intellect. I mean, her IQ is easily like 100 points higher than his anyway. But can't they see that in spite of their mutual attraction, this relationship can only lead to ruin? I mean, okay, like, suppose they do it or something like that. And suppose in spite of all the public service announcements on MTV, they neglect to practice safe sex like my mom and Mr. Gianni. And then they have to get married. And Lily will have to go live in Indiana in a trailer park because that's where all the teen mothers live. And she'll be wearing Walmart house dresses and smoking Cools while Hank goes off to the rubber tire factory and makes 55 cents an hour. Am I the only one who can see where all of this is heading? What is wrong with everyone? First, grouping. Evaluate with grouping systems, beginning with innermost one. Second, evaluate all powers. Third, multiply and divide left to right. Fourth, add and subtract in order, left to right. Wednesday, October 29th, 7 p.m. Okay, it's all right. They're safe. Apparently, Hank got back to the hotel around 5 and Lily showed up at her apartment, according to Michael, a little bit before that. I would seriously like to know where they had been, but all either of them will say is, just walking around. Yeah, Lily adds, God, could you be a little bit more possessive of him? Yeah, I am so sure, but I have bigger things to worry about. Right as I was about to step into Granmere's suite at the plaza for my princess lessons today, Dad appeared, looking nervous. Only 2 things make my dad nervous. One of them is my mother. The other one is his mother. He said in a low voice, listen, Mia, about the wedding situation. And I said, I hope you had a chance to talk to Granmere. Your grandmother has already sent out invitations to the wedding, I mean. What? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is a disaster, an absolute disaster. My dad must have known what I was thinking from my expressions since he went, Mia, don't worry. I'll take care of it. Just leave it all to me, all right? But how can I not worry? My dad's a good guy and all. I mean, like, at least he tries to be. But we're talking Grandmere here. Grandmere. Nobody goes up against Grandmere, not even the Prince of Genovia. And whatever he might have said to her so far really hasn't worked. She and Vigo are more deeply absorbed than ever in their nuptial planning. Oh, we have acceptances already, Vigo informed me proudly when I walked in, from the mayor, Mr. Donald Trump, Miss Diane von Furstenberg, the royal family of Sweden, Oscar de la Renta, Mr. David Hasselhoff, Miss Martha Stewart. I didn't say anything, and that's because all I could think was, what was my mother going to say if she walked down the aisle and there was David Hasselhoff and Martha Stewart? She might actually run screaming from the room. And your dress arrived, Vigo informed me, his eyebrows waggling suggestively. Sorry, my what? Unfortunately, Granmere overheard me and clapped her hands so loudly that she sent Rommel scurrying for cover, apparently thinking that a nuclear missile or something like that had gone off. Don't you ever let me hear you say, what? Again, Granmere fire-breathed at me. You say, I beg your pardon. I looked at Vigo, who was trying not to smile. Really, Vigo actually thinks it's funny when Granmere gets mad at me. If there's a Genovian medal for valor, he should totally get it. I beg your pardon, Mr. Vigo, I said politely. Please, please, Vigo said, waving his hand. Just Vigo, none of this Mr. business, your highness. Now tell me, what do you think of this? And suddenly, he pulled this dress from a box. And the minute I saw it, I was lost. Because it was the most beautiful dress I've ever seen. It looked like Glinda the Good Witch, the dress from Wizard of Oz. And not only was it sparkly, okay, like still it was pink with this big poofy skirt and it had little rosettes on the sleeve. I had never wanted a dress as much as I wanted this one as soon as I laid eyes on it. I had to try it on. I just had to. Grammer supervised the fitting while Vigo hovered nearby, offering to refresh her sidecar. And in addition to enjoying her favorite cocktail, Grammer was smoking one of her really long cigarettes, so she looked more official than usual. She kept pointing with her cigarette and going, No, not that way, Amelia, and for God's sake, stop slouching, Amelia. It was determined that the dress was too big in the bust, what else is new for me, and would have to be taken in. The alterations would take until Friday, but Vigo assured us that he would see that they were done on time. And that is when I remembered what this dress was actually for. God, what kind of a daughter am I? I'm terrible. I don't want this wedding to happen. My mother doesn't want this wedding to happen. So what am I doing trying to put on a dress that I'm going to wear at an event that nobody except for Grandmere even wants to see happen, which, if my dad succeeds, isn't going to happen anyway. Still, I thought that my heart might break as soon as I took the dress off and put it back on the satin hanger. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen, let alone worn. If only, I couldn't help thinking, Michael could see me in this dress. Or even Josie Rocks. He might overcome his shyness and be able to tell me to my face what he hadn't been able to tell me except in writing so far. And if it turns out that he isn't the chilly guy, maybe we could go out. But there's only one appropriate place to wear a dress like this, and that's a wedding. And no matter how much I wanted to wear that dress, I certainly didn't want there to be a wedding. My mother was barely holding on to her sanity as it was. A wedding at which David Hasselhoff was in attendance and who knows, maybe even singing, might push her over the edge. Still, I have never in my life felt as much like a princess as I did in that dress. Too bad I'll never get to wear it. Wednesday, October 29th, 10 p.m. Okay, so I was just casually flipping through channels, like taking a study break from all the thinking up a profound moment to write about in my English journal, when all of a sudden I hit channel 67, one of the public access channels, and there's an episode of Lily's show, Lily Tells It Like It Is, on that I've never seen before, which is weird because Lily Tells It Like It Is usually on Friday nights. And then I figured since this Friday is Halloween, maybe Lily's show is being preemptively bumped for coverage of the parade in the village or something like that. So I'm sitting here watching the show, and it turns out to be the slumber party episode. The one we taped on Saturday with all the other girls confessing their French kissing exploits and me dropping an eggplant out the window? Yeah, that one. Only Lily had edited out any scenes showing my face. So unless you knew Mia Thermopolis was the one in the pajamas with the strawberries all over them, you really wouldn't know that it was me. All in all, it was pretty tame stuff. Maybe some really puritanical moms would get upset about the French kissing, but there aren't too many of those in the 5 boroughs, which is the extent of the broadcast region. And then the camera did this funny skittering thing, and when the picture got clear again, there was this close-up on my face. That's right, my face! I was lying on the floor with this pillow under my head, talking in a sleepy way, and then I remembered it. At the slumber party, after everyone had fallen asleep, Lily and I stayed awake chatting, and it turned out she had been filming me the entire time. I was lying there going, this thing I want the most is to start a place for stray and abandoned animals. Like, I went to Rome once and there were about 80 million cats there roaming around the monuments, and they totally would have died if these nuns hadn't fed them and stuff. So the first thing I think I'll do is start a place where all the stray animals in Genovia will be taken care of, and I would never have to see any of them put to sleep unless they were really sick or something like that. And they'll just be like all these dogs and cats and maybe some dolphins and ocelots. Lily's voice, disembodied of course, went, "Are there ocelots in Genovia?" And I went, I hope so. Maybe not, though. But whatever. Any animal that needs a home, they can come and live there. So maybe I'll hire some, seeing eye dog trainers, and they can come and train all the dogs to be seeing eye dogs. And then we can give them away to blind people for free who need them. And then we can take the cats to the hospital and the old people's homes and let the patients pet them, because that always makes people feel better. Except people like Grandmere who hate cats. We can take the dogs for them. Or maybe one of the ocelots. Lily's voice disembodied again. And that's going to be your first act when you become the ruler of Genovia? And I said sleepily, yeah, I think so. maybe we could turn the whole castle into an animal shelter, you know? And like all the strays in Europe can come live there, even those cats from Rome. Do you think your grandmere is gonna like that? I mean, having all those stray cats around the castle? And I said, she'll be dead, so who even cares? Oh my God, I hope they don't have public access channels on the TVs at the plaza. And Lily asked me, what part of it do you hate the most? I mean, like being a princess, I mean. Oh, that's easy. Not being able to go to the deli and buy milk without having to call ahead and arrange for a bodyguard to escort me. Not being able to just like come over and hang out with you without it being this big production. This whole thing with my fingernails. I mean, who cares how my fingernails look? Am I right? What does it even matter? All that kind of stuff. And Lily went, are you nervous about your formal introduction to the people of Genovia in December? Well, not really nervous, just I don't know, what if they don't like me? Like the ladies in waiting and stuff? I mean, like nobody at school likes me, so chances are that nobody in Genovia will like me either. Yeah, people at school like you, Lily said, and then right in front of the camera, I drifted off to sleep. Good thing I didn't drool, or worse, snore. I wouldn't have been able to show my face at school tomorrow. And then the words floated up over the screen. Don't believe the hype. This is the real interview with the Princess of Genovia. And as soon as it was over, I called Lily and I asked her what exactly she thought she had been doing. And she just went in this infuriatingly superior voice, I just want people to be able to see the real Mia Thermopolis. No, you don't, I said. You just want one of the networks to pick up on the interview and pay you a lot of money for it. Mia, Lily said, sounding wounded. How can you even think such a thing of me? She sounded so taken aback that I realized I must have been wrong about that one. Well, I said, you at least could have told me. Would you have agreed to it? Lily wanted to know. Well, no, I said, probably not. Well, there you go then, Lily said. I guess I don't come off quite as much of a big-mouthed idiot in Lily's interview. I just come off as a wacko who has a thing for cats. I honestly don't know which is worse, but the truth is, I'm actually starting not to care. I wonder if this is what happens to all celebrities. Like maybe at first you really care what they say about you in the press, but after a while you're just like, whatever. I do wonder if Michael saw this, and if so, what he thought about the pajamas. They are really quite nice. Thursday, October 30th, English class. Hank did not come to school with me today. He called first thing this morning and said he wasn't feeling too well. I'm not surprised. Last night, Mama and Papa called wanting to know where in Manhattan they could go for a New York strip. Since I generally don't frequent restaurants that serve meat, I asked Mr. Gianni for a suggestion, and he made them a reservation at this semi-famous steak place. And then, in spite of my mother's strenuous objections, he insisted on taking Mama and Papa and Hank and me out so that he could get to know his future in-laws better. This was apparently too much for my mother. She actually got out of bed, put on mascara, lipstick, and a bra, and went with us. I think it was mostly to guard against Mima driving Mr. G away with her many references to the number of family cars that my mother accidentally rolled over in the cornfields while she was learning to drive. Anyway, at the restaurant, I am horrified to report that in spite of the increased risk of heart disease and some cancers to which saturated fats and cholesterol have scientifically been linked, my future stepfather, my cousin, my maternal grandparents, not to mention Lars, who I had no idea was so fond of meat, and my mother, who attacked her steak like Rosemary attacked a raw chunk of ground round in Rosemary's Baby, which I've never actually seen, but I have heard about that scene, ingested what have to be the equivalent of an entire cow. This distressed me very much. I wanted to point out to them how unnecessary and unhealthy it is to eat things that were once alive and walking around, and then I remembered my princess training, and I merely concentrated on my entree of grilled vegetables, and I said nothing. Still, I am not at all surprised that Hank does not feel well. All that red meat is probably sitting completely undigested behind those washboard abs even as we speak. I'm only assuming that Hank has washboard abs, since thankfully I've not actually seen them. Interestingly, however, that was the one meal my mother has been able to keep down. This baby is no vegetarian. That is for sure. Anyway, the disappointment Hank's absence has generated here at Albert Einstein is palpable. Miss Melina saw me in the hall and said sadly, "Oh, you don't need another guest pass for your cousin today?" Hank's absence also apparently means that my special dispensation from the mean looks the cheerleaders have been giving me is revoked. This morning, Lana reached out and snapped the back of my bra and asked in the snottiest voice, "What are you wearing a bra for? You certainly don't need one." I long for a place where people treat each other with courtesy and respect. That, unfortunately, is not high school. Maybe in Genovia, or possibly that space station that the Russians built, the one that's falling apart right above our heads right now. Anyway, the only person who seems happy about Hank's misfortune is Boris Pulowski. He's waiting for Lily by the front door to the school when we arrived this morning, and as soon as he saw us, he asked, "Where is Honk?" Because of his thick Russian accent, that's how he pronounces Hank's name. Hank is sick, I informed him, and it would not be exaggerating to say that the look that spread across Boris's uneven features was beatific. It was actually a little bit touching. Boris's dog-like devotion to Lily can be annoying, but I know that I really only feel that way about it because I'm envious. I want a boy that I can tell all my deepest, darkest secrets to. I want a boy who will French kiss me. I want a boy who will be jealous if I spend too much time with another guy, even a total bohunk like Hank. What's a bohunk? It's not spelled like Bo, B-E-A-U. It's B-O. I don't know what that is. But I guess we don't always get what we want, do we? It looks like what I'm gonna get is a baby brother or sister and a stepfather who knows a lot about the quadratic formula and who is moving in tomorrow with his foosball table. Oh, and the rule of the throne of a country, I guess, someday. Big deal. I would rather have a boyfriend. Oh, you know what, Erica? I just had a restock about a week ago. Yeah, I just had one. I'm sorry. It just happened. Thursday, October 30th, World Civ. Things to do before Mr. G moves in. Number 1, vacuum. Number 2, clean out the cat box. Number 3, drop off the laundry. Number 4, take out the recycling, especially any of Mom's magazines that refer to O on the cover. Very inappropriate. Number 5, remove feminine hygiene products from all the bathrooms. Number 6, clear out space in the living room for the foosball table, pinball machine, large TV. Number 7, check medicine cabinet, hide the Midol, the Nair, the Jolene? What's Jolene? Bohunk, a rough or uncivilized person. Oh, okay, cool. I don't know what Jolene is. I've never heard of that medication. Number 8, remove Our Bodies, Ourselves and The Joy of Beep Boop from Mom's bookshelves. Number 9, call cable company, get Classic Sports Network added, remove Romance Channel. Ew, why? Number 10, get Mom to stop hanging bras on bedroom doorknobs. Also, why? Number 11, stop biting off fake fingernails. Number 12, stop thinking so much about Michael. Number 13, fix the lock on the bathroom door. Number 14, buy toilet paper. Thursday, October 30th, gifted and talented. I don't believe this. They've done it again. Hank and Lily have disappeared again. I didn't even know about the Hank part until Lars got the call on his cell phone from my mother. She was very annoyed because my mother had been called at her studio screaming hysterically. Her mother had called her at the studio screaming hysterically because Hank was missing from his hotel room. Mom wanted to know if Hank had shown up at school with me. To which, to the best of my knowledge, he had not. And then Lily didn't show up for lunch. She wasn't even very subtle about it either. We were doing the presidential fitness exam in PE, and just as it was her turn to climb the rope, Lily started complaining that she had cramps. Yeah, since Lily complains that she has cramps every single time the presidential fitness exam rolls around, I wasn't really suspicious at first. Mrs. Potts sent Lily to the nurse's office, and I figured I'd see her at lunch, miraculously recovered as usual. But then she did not show up for lunch. A consultation with the nurse revealed that Lily's cramps had been of such severity that she decided to go home for the rest of the day. Cramps! I am so sure Lily doesn't have cramps. She has the hots for my cousin. The real question is, how long can we keep this from Boris? Remember the mauler that we'd been subjected to yesterday? Everyone is being careful not to remark how coincidental it is that Lily is sick and Hank is missing in action at the same time. Nobody wants to have to resort to the gym mats again. Those things were heavy. As a precaution, Michael is trying to keep Boris busy with a computer game that he invented called Decapitate the Backstreet Boy, and in case in it, you get to hurl knives, axes, and stuff at members of the Backstreet Boys. The person who cuts the heads off the most Backstreet Boys moves up to another level where he gets to cut off the heads of the boys in 98 degrees and then in sync, etc. The player who cuts off the most heads gets to carve his initials on Ricky Martin's naked chest. It was Jolene. I can't believe Michael only got a B on this game in his computer class, but the teacher took points off because he felt like the violence wasn't necessary for it. Excuse me. He felt like it wasn't violent enough for today's market. Mrs. Hill's letting us talk today. I know it's because she doesn't want to have to listen to Boris play Mahler or worse, Wagner. I went up to Mrs. Hill after class yesterday and I apologized for what I said about her on TV, like being in the teacher's lounge all the time, even though it totally was the truth. I'm pretty sure that this is because my dad sent her a DVD player with a bunch of big flowers, and the day after the interview was broadcast, she's been a lot nicer to me since then. That's weird. Yeah, I guess maybe it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. You know, I find all this stuff about Lily and Hank very difficult to process. I mean, Lily, of all people, turning out to be such a slave to lust because she genuinely can't be in love with Hank. He's a nice guy and all, like very good looking, but let's face it, his elevator doesn't go all the way up. Lily, on the other hand, belongs to Mensa, or at least she could if she didn't think so. It was so hopelessly bourgeoisie. Plus, Lily isn't exactly what you'd call a traditional beauty. I mean, I think she's pretty, but according to today's admittedly limited ideal of what is attractive, Lily doesn't really pass muster. She's shorter than me, kind of chunky, and has like a squished in face. Not really the type that you'd expect a guy like Hank to fall for. So what do a girl like Lily and a guy like Hank have in common anyway? Oh God, please don't answer that. Homework. Algebra, page 123, problems 1 through 5 and 7. English. In your journal, describe one day in your life. Don't forget to do the profound moment. World Civ. Answer questions at the end of chapter 10. Gifted and talented. Bring $1 on Monday for earplugs. French. Une description d'une personne. 30 mots minimum. Biology. Kenny says not to worry about it. He's going to do it for me. Thursday, October 30th, 7 p.m. In the limo back to the loft. Another huge shock. If my life continues along this roller coaster course, I may have to seek professional counseling. When I walked in for my princess lesson, there was Mama. Mama, sitting in one of Granmere's tiny pink couches, sipping tea. Oh, she was always like that, Mama said, stubborn as a mule. I was sure they were talking about me. I threw down my book bag and I went, I am not. And Grandma was sitting on the couch opposite her, a teacup and a saucer poised in her hands. And in the background, Vigo was running around like a little wind-up toy, answering the phone and saying things like, no, the orange blossoms are for the wedding party, the roses are for the centerpieces, but of course lamb chops were meant to be the appetizers. What kind of way is that to enter a room? Gramere barked at me in French. A princess never interrupts her elders, and she certainly never throws things. Now, please do come here and greet me properly. I went over and gave her a kiss on both cheeks, even though I didn't want to, and then went over to Mima and did the same thing, and she giggled and went, ow, how continent. No, sorry. I gotta get a little southern for this one. How continental. And Grandmother said, now sit down and offer your grandmother a Madeleine cookie. I sat down, and to show how unstubborn I can be, I offered her a Madeleine from the plate on the table in front of her, the way that Grandmother had shown me to do. Mima giggled again and took one of the cookies. She kept her pinky in the air as she ate it. Well, why, thanks, hun, she said. Now, Grandmere said in English, where were we, Shirley? And Mima said, oh, yes. Well, just as I was saying, she's always been that way, just stubborn as the day is long. I am not surprised she's dug her heels in about this wedding. I am not surprised at all. Hey, it wasn't me they were talking about after all. It was... I mean, I can't tell you we were thrilled when this happened the first time. Of course, Helen never mentioned that he was a prince. If we'd known he was a prince, we probably would have encouraged her to marry him. Understandably, Grandma murmured. But this time, Mima said, we just couldn't be more thrilled. You know, Frank is a real doll. Then we are agreed, Grandmere said. This wedding must and will take place. Oh, definitely, Mima said, and I half expected them to spit in their hands and shake on it in an old Hoosier custom that I learned from Hank. But instead, they each just took a sip of their tea. I was pretty sure nobody wanted to hear from me, but I cleared my throat anyway. Amelia, Gramir said in French, don't even think about it. Too late. I said, Mom doesn't want... Vigo, Gramir called. Do you have those shoes, the one that match the princess's dress? Like magic, Vigo appeared, carrying the prettiest pair of pink satin slippers I had ever seen. They had rosettes on the toes that matched the ones on the maid of honor dress. Aren't they just lovely? Vigo said as he showed them to me. Don't you want to try them on? It was cruel. It was underhanded. It had Gramir written all over it. But what could I do? I couldn't resist. The shoes fit perfectly. They looked, I had to admit, gorgeous on me. And they gave my ski-like feet the appearance of being at least a size smaller, maybe even 2 sizes. I couldn't wait to wear them, and the dress too. Maybe if the wedding was called off, I could wear them to prom. If things worked out with Josie Rocks, I mean. It would be a shame to send them back, Gramir said with a sigh, because your mother is being so stubborn. Then again, maybe not. Couldn't I keep them for maybe another occasion? I asked, hint, hint. Oh no, Gramir said. Pink is so inappropriate for anything but a wedding. Why me? When my lesson was over, apparently today's consisted of sitting there listening to my 2 grandmothers complain about how their children and grandchildren don't appreciate them, Gramir stood up and said to Mama, so we understand each other then, surely. And Mama said, oh yes, Your Highness. This sounded very ominous to me. In fact, the more I think about it, the more convinced I am that my dad hasn't done a single solitary thing to bail Mom out of what's clearly going to be a very messy situation. According to Grandmere, a limo is going to swing by our place tomorrow evening to pick up me, Mom, and Mr. Gianni and whisk us off to the plaza. It's going to be pretty obvious to everyone when my mom refuses to get in the car that there isn't going to be any wedding. I think I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. I know Dad assured me that everything is under control, but this is Grandmere we're talking about. Grandmere! During the ride downtown, I tried pumping Mom off for information, you know, about what she and Grandmere meant when they said they understood one another, but she wouldn't tell me a thing, except that she and Peepaw were too tired, what with all the sightseeing they've been doing, and not to mention worrying about Hank, who they still hadn't heard from. Yes, I did, Becca. To go out to dinner tonight, and they were going to stay in and order room service, which is just as well because I'm pretty sure if I have to hear one more person say the word medium rare, I might hurl. So for everyone keeping track, we are at 74%. Yes, I did read The Quarantine Princess. I actually, I think I read that last summer when we were at the beach. I think there's a picture of me reading it at the beach last year. So we are at 74% on this book, which is great. We are chugging right along. We will finish it soon. I was also thinking, and I don't know how everyone feels about this, but y'all know how like on Monday there's something happening that a lot of us don't really want to participate in? You guys know what I'm talking about? Monday? I was thinking Monday I might just read through that. I don't know. Let's see how much work I get done this weekend, but if I have time, Monday I might just read us right through that event. I don't know. We got to do something. Have you ever thought about doing audiobooks? Oh, Sarah, I would love to do audiobooks, but it's, you have to have like an agent and stuff or like go through all these weird things, but I would love to do it. It would be such a great gig. It would be so much fun. Yeah, I'm ignoring it too, Jen. I also wish it would never come. Oh, you're going to be here on Saturday? MLK Day, that's nothing. Nothing else is happening. Yeah, but since a lot of people have off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, maybe we just read in honor of a gentleman who was well-spoken and well-read, like Martin Luther King Jr. Well-spoken and well-read. I believe, anyway. He seemed like he was well-read. We know he was well-spoken. I never met him personally, died before I was born, but we're gonna go out on a limb and believe that about him. What a gem of a guy. Yes. Oh yeah, it was good. That's awesome. Yeah, she's a good writer. So we'll see if the next book, oops. Sasha, I have to say I got my first slime order from you and it's literally the best slime ever. Aw, thank you, David. That's so kind of you. I really appreciate you saying that. That's a really lovely thing to hear. Thank you. I don't know which ones you got, but I love hearing that. We know he's at least more well read than the focus said. Exactly. I would bet all the money in my meager savings account that Martin Luther King Jr., in the short life that he unfortunately had cut short, read more books than the extended life of the focus of Monday's event. That being said, I think in my life, I also have read more books than the person. The glow-in-the-dark cloud slime is amazing. It's pretty fun, right? It's a good slime. Yes, I have lived less than half the amount of time that this Monday person has, and I think I've read probably double, triple, maybe quadruple the amount of, books. But what do I know? I'm at work on Monday, but it would be awesome to have extended reading time. Yes, so let's see what happens. I don't know, this year alone. Yeah, already this year. I've read 5 books already this year, you guys. I'm rocking and rolling on my goal for the year. Anyway, so we'll see what comes up. I'm going to try to get that stuff done this weekend, so maybe we can do that. I will see you all. Maybe I'll be live later to just like put together sampler packs or something. I don't know. My goal for this year is 100. Last year it was 75 and I did 127, I think, or something like that. But I love you too. But I wanted to get, like, I thought about making my goal 125 for the year because I know that I hit that last year, but I'm concerned with the baby that I might not be able to read quite as much. So I wanted to give myself a lower goal than what I did last year. So since I read 120 something, I was like, let me just give myself the goal of 100 for this year. But we've been rocking and rolling through the Princess Diaries, so it's really helping me get ahead. You know? So, good stuff. I think without a new infant, I might have been able to do like 150 this year, but who's to say, right? Who's to say? Or maybe while I'm feeding her, I'll read even more. Who knows? We really don't know what kind of feeder she's going to be. Maybe she'll be a really easy baby and she'll just sit there and eat and I will read. I read so much when my kids were newborn. Yeah, exactly, Jess. That's what I was wondering. Yeah. You're also 5 books in for the year. High five. All right, I will see you all later for something. I don't know what we'll do later, but we'll do something because I'm going to be home alone, so we'll chill. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we'll do something. Bye, guys.